Rating Center. Good morning to you on this Friday morning. Nice to have you with us. A bit chilly outside, you might say. -2 when I left the house this morning. I didn't even look at the windshield. Didn't want to know what it was. But it's cold. Cold, cold, cold. Going to stay that way probably till the first week in February. We talked yesterday to Mark Torregrossa, and that was his view of it. Open phones this hour and next. And at 11 o'clock, we will learn about the Dupuis Corner Bistro and their expansion. But for now, it's open phones, and I want to start out, there's been a lot of talk about tariffs. And what will they do for us? What won't they do for us? What's it going to cost us? Well, part of the president's strategy for tariffs was to force U.S. companies to onshore some of their manufacturing rather than build everything in China. Well, it appears to have some effect because General Motors has announced that the Buick Envision, it's one of their compact SUVs, production for the North American market will move to Kansas. And it will do so by 2028. They are working on that plant now. Currently, it produces the all-electric Chevy Bolt, but that's only for a limited run. Next year, in 2027, they will begin production at that plant of the gas-powered Chevrolet Equinox. And when the Envision is added, it will be on a shared platform with the Equinox. This from General Motors increases their footprint and supports U.S. jobs, building on a $5.5 billion in new investments across their manufacturing sites. So those vehicles that will be assembled at Fairfax will be sold to the North American market. They will continue production in China for sales to other non-U.S. markets. But for now, anyway, they keep building them in China and shipping them over here. In 2025, General Motors sold 41,924 Envisions. You do see a lot of them around here. And it's interesting for the dealers. I was talking to the major Buick dealer in this area, whose name I'm sure you recognize if I mention it. But they have a lot across the street from their State Street showroom. And that lot is usually filled with Envisions for a while until they sell them all. But the reason they do that is they were telling me that when they order them, they never know when they're going to get them. Don't know how many months it'll take to get their inventory. So certainly building them in the United States starting in 2028 will give some more assuredness as to when they can order and when they actually will get the vehicles. But again, it means jobs in the U.S., investment in the U.S. at a U.S. factory, which is what the president set out to do. So credit where credit's due. I know none of us want to pay for tariffs. None of us like the idea of having increased prices and all of that. But on the other side of that argument, if it makes companies rethink where they're building their products, why not? Good for General Motors. So from now on, when you buy a Buick Envision after 2028, it will be an American automobile as opposed to an American branded automobile built in China. At one time, if I'm not mistaken, the only Buick made in the U.S. was the Enclave. Everything else was made offshore. So we can chalk one up to tariffs and positive outcomes. Thank you, General Motors. They're putting $5.5 billion in these investments, so that's putting money where their mouth is. It's a good thing. Speaking of money, in case you haven't noticed, another government shutdown is looming. About a week left, and the Republican House of Representatives voted to send a $1.2 trillion spending package to the Senate. Not with the support of Democrats, because it keeps the lights on at the Department of Homeland Security, and the Democrats are against it. Of course, that's where the immigration crackdown comes from. But a lot of the bill did have bipartisan help. It funds programs at the Pentagon, Health and Human Services Department, the Education Department, and the measure largely rejects many of the cuts that the Trump administration was pushing for. And it will go to the Senate. And at that time, Democrats will have to decide whether to fund DHS through this year without any of the guardrails they wanted, or risk another shutdown. So, going to be interesting. No doubt, ICE has had a major impact on how the various players in Washington view funding. For the Republicans, largely supportive, and for the Democrats, largely in opposition. And, gee, what's different about that, huh? But at least they sent something to the Senate. Now we'll see what happens. It will be interesting to see if the Democrats decide against shutting down the government, or whether they will work to disrupt. Time will tell. And speaking of politics, Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, now that her governor, Tim Walz, has said he will not run for re-election, she has taken a large step toward a possible run for governor in Minnesota. She filed paperwork to form a campaign committee. And she has not yet made a formal announcement of her candidacy. But she has filed the papers. Walsh, of course, you'll remember, unexpectedly withdrew for re-election after a lot of the welfare fraud stuff came to the forefront. Klobuchar is 65. She's been in the Senate since 2007. And she is popular. She's racked up double-digit victories in each of her previous runs. She's going to walk into a hornet's nest because of what's happening in Minnesota if she is elected, but, at least she's out in the open now. And it will be interesting. I mean, she's run for president. She's been around a while. There are more than a dozen Republican candidates that are vying for Minnesota's governor job since the announcement. One of them controversial. My Pillar founder and CEO Mike Lindell is among them. He's the only one with national recognition. The rest are all local governmental officials in Minnesota. But time will tell. Interesting to see what happens. Open phones on this hour and next hour of the Art Lewis Show. Whatever you want to talk about on this Friday. Doesn't have to be heavy politics. It can be anything. Let's chat. Give us a call, 989-752-6111.
Pat's Food Center in Freeland has a chili.
We're back with you. And to the phones we go, and we say good morning to Carl in Saginaw. Carl, good morning.
Good morning, Art. It's a little nippy out there today.
No, it's more than a little. It's plain nippy.
Are you working from home, or did you drive in today?
Oh, no, I drove in.
You drove in.
Oh, yeah.
What did you see? What did you see as the temperature on the way in this morning?
-2 in my car. That's what the gauge said on my car.
I saw a -6.
Oh, yeah?
This morning.
Yeah. Either way, it was cold.
It's cold. I wonder if it makes a difference, when it gets so cold, if it makes a difference, But anyway,
listen, I think my fingers could freeze at -2 as well as -6. So I don't think it makes much of a difference. And the wind chill on top of it really nails it. So, another week or so.
Yeah, I know. I drove past a sign on State Street, and I think it said, something like 72 days until spring, something like that.
Yeah. Lovely. Great.
Yeah. Yesterday, my good friend Scott called in, and he was talking about how, in his experience, grocery prices are going down under President Trump. I'd like to know where Scott does his shopping. I'd like to get my groceries there too.
Well, I think regardless of what he says, you go to a grocery store, some prices have come down, others have not, and that's the way it always is in grocery stores.
Yes, besides eggs, what prices have come down?
Well, I don't know. Why are you eliminating eggs from the discussion?
Well, the bird
they
flu
came down, didn't they?
Eggs, they did come down. So, but can you name any other foods that came down?
I don't know. I'd have to go look. I don't know.
Well,
but overall, I mean,
pretty much.
Here's why I say this: because part of what you pay at the grocery store is based on transportation prices. And transportation prices, their fuel is cheaper. It costs less to get it to the store. And, and I'm not saying everything is going to fall to the bottom. That's not going to happen. But you may find pennies difference here and there.
No, but Art, the penny, it's going up by pennies, not down by pennies.
Some always do. I mean, that's tradition. But we'll have to investigate that and give you a list.
Okay. You're talking about ICE raids, and I think most Americans are in favor of closing the southern border. And when Trump said he was going to go after the worst of the worst, the criminals, the gang members, there again, I think most people probably agree with that. But now we're getting to the point where ICE is dragging people out of their homes. They're, raiding Target stores or meat packing processing places, and they're arresting people who have jobs, who have families, people dropping their kids off at school. These are not the worst of the worst.
Well, you don't know that. You don't know who they are.
Well,
I don't know that.
I've seen that like 90% of these people do not have a criminal record. Only like about 2 or 3% have a violent criminal record. But Art, have you seen the polls on this as far as what the general public thinks about
they're up
these
and
ice
down.
raids?
They're up and down. One day
the ones I saw,
it's 50% agree, one day 50% disagree. I mean, it's I don't pay a lot of attention.
Well, the polls that I'm seeing say about 25% of people agree with what ICE is doing now. 55% disagree with the way ICE is handling these raids. And with independents, it's even higher than that disagreement.
So because polls show that, what should we do? Stop?
Well, I'm just saying, you understand that the way you see things and the way a lot of your callers see things is in the minority of what Americans feel.
Well,
you understand that?
On the polls you look at, yeah.
Yes. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't feel the way you feel. You're entitled to that.
You are entitled to yours.
Yes, but just understand, most of the country does not see things that way. When they see these raids, they see somebody dragged out of their house without a warrant, without a judge-signed warrant. Most people are not in favor of this.
All right. So what do we do?
Well,
Paul says so. So you quit?
go after the worst of the worst. But if somebody has, if somebody's
but
working,
here's the point.
They have a family.
Here's the point. You don't know who they're dragging out of the house.
Well, the figures I've seen are like 90% of them do not have a criminal record.
All right.
Yeah, they maybe don't have the documentation. True, but they've been here for years. They have families. They have jobs. They're paying taxes. They're on the they're on the Kiwanis Club. They're arresting these people now.
All right, good enough.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
All right.
And we'll go down to Birch Run. Let's talk to Kay in Birch Run. Kay, good morning.
Hi. I just want to talk to Carl, who called you yesterday about the horrible food prices. I know the food prices are high. That I will not quibble about one bit. But Mr. Carl needs to anticipate what happened in California with their floods and the farming community that was decimated out there last year.
That's part of it.
I lived on a farm for all my life, and I am older than you are.
Well, you don't sound it. You sound fine.
Well, thank you. But those things don't come back overnight.
That's for sure.
It takes time to get the product to put back in the ground, to plant your lettuce, to plant your carrots, to plant all the produce that was wiped out there. We don't know what the dairy farming industry went through, but they were in the mix there too. And those things take time and a lot of money to replace.
And we know that the meat prices are out of sight too.
Right. And we also know that down in Mexico, I believe it is, that we got a lot of beef from there, and they now have a disease that we have quarantined them. Their meat cannot come into the United States for a time.
We've had that with Canada in the past, too.
Yes. So all of these things, freeze down in Florida for your oranges. We've had that for years and years and years.
Yep.
You go through these times when we'll probably have it again this year. But anyway, these things all factor in along with.
I'm just gonna point one thing out though, Kay, to balance it out, because no matter the reason, when the voter goes to the polls and they vote their pocketbook, They don't ask what the reasons are that the price is high.
Right.
That's the
But Carl was
difficult. That's the
bringing up-
difficult time.
Carl is bringing up all the negative so
Yeah.
people hear that. I am trying to bring out the other side of
Right.
why
Which is the
these
wise.
things are happening.
Yep.
And having lived on a farm, I know these cattle don't produce, they're just like a regular baby. It takes 9 months. And then on from there, before they start producing milk, or another year to at
Yep.
least be some beef. And so these things all make a come into play.
Yep, and the bird
And-
flu affected poultry, so yeah, no doubt.
It sure did.
All right.
And that, takes time. And I also wanted to point out to him that if the people would not have come through the borders like they did the last few years, we wouldn't have to be worried about getting them out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you.
Very good, Kay. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye now. And Marcy, hang on. We'll get to you right after these notes.
How do you afford the things you
All right, we're back with you here on WSGW and back to our phones in Saginaw. We find Marcy this morning. Marcy, good morning.
Good morning. Well, I wasn't calling to talk about this, but I just wanted to say that I do support ICE fully and pray for them every day.
All right.
And on my topic, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Great Lakes Rehab where my mom is staying. I had to put her in a nursing home last April. Also, thanks to all of you for the radio broadcasts where you have Carol Thomas on, because years ago we got a trust for my family because we heard all of that and went to her seminar, and she recommended Great Lakes and one other. But anyway, the staff is so helpful. Carol's staff have been so helpful, and it was just such a blessing.
I
So,
will pass that along to her.
okay. And one other thing I wondered about, I have tickets. My friend bought us all tickets to the Court Theater for the Choral Society on February 13th.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be at the Court Theater, but she ran into one of the friend who bought them ran into one of the men who sings. She goes to all these estate sales, and he's at them. And he said it might not be done in time, and it would have to be at the State Theater. I wondered if you had heard anything about that.
I had not. Everything I heard was Court Theater. We'll have to get a hold of Mr. Dice, who owns it now. I'll tell you, though, I will do a little research and see if I can get a definitive answer. Matter of fact, the next break, maybe I'll try and call my friend at the Choral Society and see what they have to say about it. Because I think a lot of people are looking forward to that theater reopening again.
Yes, and I'm hoping that they can improve the parking a little bit. I don't know where we're all going to park.
That is the issue there. There's no doubt about it. It's this is very little available. There's no big lots available anywhere.
Maybe he can buy the lot across the street and pave it, huh? We'll see.
Maybe.
Anyway, well, thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Well, Marcy, thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Okay,
Bye
bye.
now. All right. Yeah, if you hadn't heard, the Saginaw Choral Society was going to be producing a concert, One Hit Wonders or something like that. I forget what it was called now. But it's scheduled to be the first show since the Court Theater was sold. And Jordan Dice bought it, the same person that owns the State Theater in Bay City, and he owns St. Laurent Brothers. He owns the Midland Mall. And everything he touches and he says he's going to do, he does. So we're all kind of hoping to see that theater back in good shape and doing its thing. But I'm trying to, as we speak, see if there's anything on the site. Let me see here. I don't see that one on here. Yep. The only thing on here, it says the Musical Misfits, which is what it's called, and it still says I thought it said Court Theater. So we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be nice when they get the Court Theater back open again. And I don't know if he's doing. I don't know if he's doing much work in it. I mean, the Brayleys had done a lot of work when they owned it. They brought it back into beautiful shape. So I don't know that Jordan has to do a lot of work on it. But we will find out. We will come up with a definitive answer. Let's talk to Joe in Bay City. Joe, good morning.
Hey, Arthur. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Hope you are.
Hey, the weather, I got two quick hitters on groceries and on ice, but real quick story. Yesterday I went down to Grand Blanc from Bay City, and as soon as we passed Flint and got on 75 at the turn on 23, we hit that snow squall. And I've never experienced a whiteout in my life. I mean, we literally were going 5 miles an hour, and no, I'm not kidding you.
I know it. I know it.
And I couldn't see anything. The exit, I could hardly see the exit getting off of that. And then we had to go through three roundabouts, and I went over curbs and everything because you couldn't see where you're going on the roundabout.
I had a meeting yesterday. I had a meeting, and MDOT is part of this meeting. And the gal from MDOT was saying that a number of the roundabouts you can see where drivers drove over the padding because they couldn't see the roundabout for the snow.
Absolutely. Anyway, hey, enough of the weather. The sun's shining, so that's nice. And
yeah, except it's not very warm.
That's right. Hey, groceries. Scott, Carol, one yes, one no. Grocery prices. You know, I do a little shopping. My wife does most of it, but I'm aware of what's going on in the grocery store somewhat. And a few things have come down. I think paper products have come down a little bit. But for the most part, you know, groceries are based on what? Labor, transportation, and availability. And
the cost of manufacture.
Labor, right. And so, you know, the part of labor, that's gone up, you know, quite a bit in the last 3-4 years, and that won't come back down. So that part of the price rate rise in a grocery store will not come down, that part, because you have to pay for the labor. And then availability, you know, I don't know, according to my wife, and I agree with her, a lot of products, especially like lettuce and bananas and things like that, are just terrible. Not only the price isn't terrible, but the availability is. And when it comes in, it's in bad shape. So you know, the three major things that keep the prices from going down, and the labor will be the one that they can't come down beyond that.
I have to be honest, where I shop, I haven't noticed any shortages, and everything seems to be plentiful and looks decent. Prices I understand, but I haven't noticed any shortages. Now, there could be in places, obviously.
Well, Meijer on Monday, the shelves are almost half empty. Well, I shouldn't say half empty, but very bare. But on Tuesday, everything's packed in again. so
you know when the trucks arrive.
There you go.
You know when the trucks arrive. There you go.
There you go. So anyway, you know, nobody, whoever is president, is not going to lower the prices. Maybe a little bit will go down because of the way things are, but most of it is just we're stuck with it now. And,
all right.
And the other thing is
real quick.
On ice.
Yep.
Okay. The guy that was Carl's friend that was dragged out of his house, he probably isn't aware of that guy had an order for deportation for the last like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And Jean yesterday when she called in or the day before and she was crying about this woman being dragged out of her car, well, she turned out to be a far leftist that was an activist, and so you know.
Wow.
You know,
careful on that. You don't. Just because people are activists, you don't drag them out of their car. Depends what they're doing. Well, if they were using the car illegally, yes.
Well, you know, if you're stopped and the state police comes to your door and says, "I'd like you to step out," would you tell them to shove it?
No.
Probably not.
Yeah. All right. Good enough. Gotta go, Joe.
Okay. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye now. All right. We'll be back. Let me take a minute to talk about your tires, particularly with the weather and the road surfaces and the way it is. Winter tires are different than your all-season tires. They have compounds in them that make them more flexible for the winter. And you will find those tires at Quick Lane, Freeland, and all of them